Hey y'all, welcome to Leftover Donuts. This is a channel dedicated to Phish with a PH. It's for Phish nerds, Phish novices, and everyone in between. Tonight I am recapping the Star Lake two-night stand in Burgettstown, Pennsylvania. Burgettstown. I'm not as plugged into the online conversations as I'd like to be, but from what I can tell, the general consensus seems to be that Wilmington is the lull of the run so far, and I actually disagree. I really quite like both those shows. You know, they're not my favorite of the tour so far, but I really like them. If anything, I would say that I was a little bit underwhelmed with Star Lake by comparison. That being said, there's still a bunch of standout moments, so let's get into it. Night one, set one. We started with the Fisherman penned Party Time, followed by an AC/DC bag. We got a 46 Days, Birds of a Feather, bouncing around the room. And then a stash. I think this is the second stash of the tour. Don't quote me on that. Some nice jazz drumming from the Fishermen here. We get a modulation to a different minor. They're starting to sort of favor kind of live instrumentation without relying on effects. Not that there's anything wrong with effects. It just kind of shows they can just be a great fusion act if they want to be. Then we go kind of watery with the guitar and some electric piano. And then we finally modulate to the major before peaking with some nice hose, Hose, and then reverting suddenly but fairly smoothly back to the stash ending. Then we've got Leaves, followed by Maze, followed by Sense and Subtle Sounds, which I guess is a continuation or a conclusion to the halted Sense and Subtle Sounds from Wilmington. I thought this kind of went bluesy, like sort of a contemporary version of Harry Hood. Set two of night one, we began with Sigma Oasis. I have here Passable Jam. That's what I have written. That doesn't sound like a very nice thing to say. I don't know. Some nice light jamming with with the Fishermen going military, like sort of military style again. Pretty rough transition to the final hurrah. There was some nice spacey stuff on the back half here, and a nice transition to Pillow Jets, which is an interesting new Trey tune. Kind of cool, kind of spacey, almost 2003 style jam on the end of this one. I was like looking it up in the live Phish app, and it says just 1 month ago it was called On Pillow Jets. I have here written here what happened. I really liked it. The jam reminded me almost of what like a Sense and Subtle Sounds jam would have sounded like in 2003, sort of those versions of Sense and Subtle Sounds. Then we got a David Bowie, a little bit of bossa nova action. Then we get a modulation to a major, kind of upbeat, playful hose jamming on the back end, kind of modding in and out of the blues before Trey kind of forcefully guides it back to the minor David Bowie. Cities, always excited to see them pull out Cities. Always excited to see Phish. Always excited to see the band Phish play the Talking Heads song Cities. This kind of had a low-key minimalist jam on the back half. I like it when they kind of go a little bit minimalist. We got a Fuego, followed by a Ruby Wade. Is it intentional? Do you think that Ruby Wave sounds like Roe v. Wade? I don't know. There might be something to that. Anyway, Ruby Waves, we got a hose jam on the end of it that felt a little tired and repetitive given all the sort of hose jamming we've gotten, until it kind of kicks into overdrive and it gives us the kind of arena rock finale, then pivots back to the original song, which in and of itself is not a bad transition, but sometimes it works better when it feels like the return to the beginning sometimes works better when it feels like a punchline, like sort of Split Open Melt or Stash or Carini, when the song is not so, when the song is more ironic and less earnest, the way that Ruby Waves is. And then for the night one encore, we got a Character Zero, nice minimalist funky jam. I like it when it goes like this, kind of like one version of it that I really hold in very high esteem is the Baker's Dozen version. Kind of a nice little minimalist funky jam. And then to close out with Slave to the Traffic Light. Okay, night two, set one, we got I Never Needed You Like This Before. We got a turtle in the clouds. There was a nice part here with Trey improvising on the verse melody. We got a fast llama, Clear Your Mind with some nice wah-wah guitar, Sample in a Jar. We got Taste, which along with Limb by Limb, this is another prototypical hose jam. Then we got an Ocelot, which is kind of the quintessential sort of chill jam. I guess it's a little more, I guess like Rogue would be like the really, really chill jam, and maybe like even like Beneath the Sea of Stars, but like Ocelot is, you know, hanging out kind of. And I was sort of reminded at a certain point a couple years ago, I was trying to like listen through all of Phish's shows that were available on the Live Phish app. And I got through all of 2003, all of 2004, all of 2009, and then I had to stop in the middle of 2010 because fucking Ocelot, they play it so much, and I was so irritated with it because at least in that day and age, it was kind of always the same, it seems like. And so Ocelot is one of the main reasons that I have not gone back and attempted again to like listen to all of the shows. And then following that with a Julius, this was one of the first songs to really get me into Phish. Then we got a Saw It Again, a Sparkle, an Ass Handed, and then a Sand to close out the first set of night 2. This was kind of a robust but flexible, fun, energetic jam, kind of Trey-dominated, concluded in kind of rousing arena rock fashion. Night 2, set 2, we got Everything's Right, to open that set. I have some nice groove-based ambient-ish jamming here. I have written here, to put it in a cliche, it creates a vibe. So I kind of thought this was like sort of 2021 style, less, and that it was a sort of less rock-oriented and more groove-oriented. Like the Wilmington Oblivion, it was driven by intuition and emotion and patience. But I kind of wish Trey would just let songs end as they want to, rather than forcing them back around to the beginning. And I do think that as we've, you know, at the time that I'm recording this, we've just hit like night 4 of MSG. And I think by this time, he's not doing that as much. The playing and the jamming is a lot more intuitive and less forced in terms of trying to close out the songs. But at least at this point at the tour in Star Lake, he's still doing that quite a bit. We got a Soul Planet, this kind of fast-paced psych rock, not dissimilar from the Prague Piper of '98. Prague being Prague, not Prog. Like that Piper, but with some of the rough edges like that Prague Piper, but with some of the rough edges haha, like the Prague Piper, but with some of the rough edges sanded off. And then it kind of fades out into more ambient, working its way up to kind of a fast hose jam with some Trey sustain thrown in. Twist, I have to applaud Fishman and the different kind of textures he brings. Most events aren't planned. I love a good page tune. Monsters, this is a new one from Trey, kind of a slow, haunting ballad. And 2001 with more underwater Trey action, closing out set 2 of night 2 with a rock and roll. And then a night 2 encore with Grind, then an abbreviated Tube, then a Ghost, which I was not used to hearing in the encore, let alone the very last spot. Anyway, that's it for Star Lake. Come back and visit. Stay a little bit, stay a while. You don't need to. You can go home if you want to. I'm gonna be coming back soon with a video on Syracuse. It'll probably be really short because it was one show. And what they say about if a donut, there will be donuts in a certain place. Donuts, don't wait up. Don't wait up for me, donuts. Don't wait up for donuts.